Utah at Florida. This is a big game. This could change the landscape of college football as we know it, kind of like the past versus the future, Pac 12 versus SEC, old school versus new school. For Utah, head coach Kyle Whittingham's trying to recreate the success he's had recently. And for Florida, it's the exact opposite. New head coach Billy Napier, they're trying to create some new success, which they haven't had in recent history. So, Drew, go ahead and get into your preview and prediction, man.
Yeah, it's two completely opposite stories going on for each team right now. You got a Utah team that's coming in with an established head coach, a quarterback that played really well last season who's returning. Just a lot of pieces for Utah are already put together. They have their culture in place. They know what to expect. They know what their expectations are. And then here comes a Florida team. Obviously, everyone knows, unless you've been living under a rock, Dan Mullen's gone. Billy Napier comes in. Got a lot of success at Louisiana, winning multiple Sun Belt titles, multiple, I think, 3 seasons, 10 wins or more. I mean, the dude got a lot of success coming from there and got the best out of the talent he had. And as a Georgia fan, it kind of pains me to say this, but Florida, I really do think had a really good pickup head coach, Billy Napier. I mean, this is a dude. He's young, energetic, and he embraces the transfer portal, which a lot of these coaches aren't doing nowadays. And he's one of the guys who's going to be using the portal a lot, in which I really think it's going to speed up the process in terms of getting Florida back to where Florida wants to be. Obviously, Florida. I don't think Florida has high expectations this year. At least a lot of their fans, from what I read, I think a lot of them are kind of just excited to see where they are in terms of what this team's going to be like compared to a Dan Mullen team. And this game could determine a lot for Florida going forward this season. I don't think it's going to be a situation where if Florida loses this game, they're going to completely shut down for the rest of the season. I think Billy Napier is too good of a coach. And Florida's going to have their hands full in this game. Utah, they're returning Cameron Rising, had a great season last year. He was actually a replacement for their starting quarterback last year. He came in, and they just decided to roll with him. He was getting the job done. They returned Tavion Thomas, their running back. He's a 1,000-yard rusher with 20-plus touchdowns last year. And they return a bunch of receivers and offensive linemen. I think Utah is returning 8 total starters. They took a little bit of hit on defense. Devin Lloyd is gone, and there's another linebacker they had leave too. They have a lot to replace on the defensive side, but they are getting a replacement, Mohamed Diabate. This is a dude who actually transferred from Florida to Utah, and I think this is a really good pickup for the Utes. I mean, this is a guy who has plenty of SEC experience as a linebacker. He's really talented, and obviously, above all, he played at Florida. He knows the offense, or at least he knows the players. Billy Napier is obviously going to probably run a different system than what Dan Mullen did, but he knows the offensive players' tendencies. I mean, he went against them in practice every single week. I think Utah is going to take a little bit of a step back on defense, and that might be an issue because Utah's defense wasn't exactly great last year. They weren't terrible, though. But I think that's really going to be huge if Utah really wants to get to a Pac-12 championship and win the Pac-12 title. Is their defense is just going to have to show up, and they're going to be playing against a very talented Florida offense. I know Florida lost a lot of the receivers. Jacob Copeland, he's gone to Maryland. He was one of Florida's top receivers last year. And Florida still has talent, though, with Anthony Richardson. We all know what he is, a very big Cam Newton prototype quarterback with a cannon for an arm, and he can run around. He's very physical. Anthony Richardson's going to have to find a way to not turn the ball over in this game, though. I think for Florida, turnovers is really what killed them last year. Florida's offense wasn't really much of an issue in terms of moving the ball down the field. Their issues more came from just self-destructing, getting in the red zone and with all these turnovers. I mean, you look at Anthony Richardson last year, when he didn't turn the ball over, he looked pretty good. And then he'll go against Georgia, and he turned the ball over 4 times in the last 2 minutes of the first half. And I think if Anthony Richardson really wants to become a top quarterback and get, placed at the top with your Bryce Youngs and whatever, and I think he has the talent to do that, he's going to have to find ways to not turn the ball over in this game. So I think as far as Florida goes, that's probably their biggest key in terms of winning this game. You cannot turn the ball over. I think Florida can go toe-for-toe with Utah 100%. The talent's pretty even. And yes, Utah is more established and has a more of established culture, and Florida's going to come in trying to figure things out. So as far as my prediction goes, Utah's 2-point favorites. I just don't really know if I'm comfortable with taking Florida yet. If I'm going to be wrong, I'm going to be wrong because I went with common sense. And sometimes common sense isn't always the case, especially in college football. I just think Utah has too many pieces put together, and Florida's still trying to put together their puzzle. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take Utah and the 2 points.
I agree with most of what you just said there. The interesting thing that popped out first looking at this game was Florida opened as a 1-point favorite, and the line moved all the way to 2.5 towards Utah, and that's really interesting to me because it's at Florida. It's not at a neutral site game or anything like that. It's at Florida. So with the new head coach after the team quit last year, and that was another big thing to me that stuck out to me about Florida. They quit halfway through the season. Their coaching staff first, and then the players just didn't give a damn. And it was obvious on the field, but that's not going to be the case. Obviously, game one going into this season, there's a lot of hype around Florida. They also brought in Rob Soule from the New York Giants, worked with Billy Napier before, physical guy. So is Billy Napier, both known everywhere they go as physical coaches. Billy Napier is also known as a leader. So those two guys coming in, setting the tone. I think it can do a lot for the run game of this team. Dan Mullen, they ran a weirder style offense, not so much what you see amongst most of the teams with college football these days. That's not the case with Billy Napier, so I also think that could help give the defense, a more solid look because we all know that Florida's defense was absolutely atrocious last year. It's no secret their D-line's been the issue the last couple of years, and even their DBs have been a major weakness in recent history, which hasn't always been the case for them. Going into the offensive side of the ball, like you said, Anthony Richardson, Cam Newton prototype like turnovers was definitely one of his biggest weaknesses last year and weaknesses for Florida in general. Also, his short and intermediate passing game was a big problem. He could throw it deep, no problem, but whenever he had to, check it down or just, take the decision that's going to give him, 5-6 yards instead of going for the Hail Mary every time, he wasn't so successful. And one of the coaching points that I've seen from interviews, listening to Florida coaches and watching the spring game, they're making it a point of emphasis on him with Anthony Richardson to work on the intermediate passing game and the short passing game. And I saw in the spring game that his release look quicker, and that's a good sign for Florida fans. Touching on Utah a little bit, you covered a lot of the stuff I was going to say. They're a good team. We know that. They went 10-4 last year. They beat Oregon twice. It's not the same Oregon team we're going to see this year. I hate to tell you Utah fans, but Utah's still a great team. What they're going to have to work on now as a program is being consistent with these 10-win seasons, and getting used to the success and having the target on your back. One of the biggest issues that I have with Utah is their depth. They got good players, but they're not historically a huge program, so getting big-time recruits in is going to be a bit of an issue for them. Listening to their coach talk in interviews, he always harps on their recruiting class this year, and I know getting 10 wins helps with that, obviously. So maybe some of those guys are going to they're going to have to be able to step up, be ready to get some real game time reps this year because we saw what happened whenever they played Ohio State. They had a running back at corner. They were just so beat up at the end of the season. They didn't have the personnel to get the job done. Getting into my prediction, with Florida opening up at 1.5 and then the line moving as much as it did at Florida, I'm getting all the signs of a trap game here for bettors, right? SEC school, Florida ranked number 7 in team talent last year, and Utah ranked number 30th. Now, I know that's not completely indicative of what makes a team great, but it's a big factor, especially when you're getting Billy Napier coming in. You're kind of getting the feeling around the Florida football team that all the bull jive is kind of behind them. They're going to get the wheels turning this year, and this is going to be the year to do it. There's a lot of hype around Florida this year. And just with all the emotions, we know Florida's an emotional team. It either works to their benefit or to their, it's their demise. So, just with all these things that I just said, I'm leaning towards Florida here.